half in the bag. I stood on my scale yesterday and it said 1 at a time, please.
Oh my God. Mike, wake up.
What?
We overslept. We were supposed to be up 4 weeks ago.
Oh my God. We missed reviewing a whole bunch of big summer movies.
Let's get to the theater.
Okay, let's go right now. Well, we're back. There was a lot of time spent at the movie theater today, Jay.
It was worth it though, because it was hot out and the theater has air conditioning.
And popcorn.
I did not start this war.
So, Jay, what did you think of War for the Planet of the Apes?
It was all right. So, Mike, what did you think of Atomic Blonde?
It was okay.
She's a killer queen.
Well, Jay, what did you think of Dunkirk?
It was all right. So, Mike, what did you think of The Dark Tower?
It was only 90 minutes. So, Jay, what did you think of the Emoji Movie?
Oh my God, Mike, the Emoji Movie looked so terrible that I willingly gave Sony my money so I could exaggerate my outrage in a YouTube video. Click here for the review.
Just like Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, what?
What?
We're number 2.
Well, Jay, I think we're finally caught up with dismissively reviewing all the big summer movies.
Oh, great. Hey, do you want to talk extensively about the Annabelle prequel?
Finally, it's here! Annabelle Creation. Nothing makes me think of scary movies more than mid-August. From the director of Lights Out, David F. Sandberg, we finally have the prequel backstory to the Annabelle doll we've all been waiting for. Wait, didn't we already see that? Yes, but this is a prequel to that sequel prequel. Ooh, prepare to be bored. Scared. As many things will happen in this film from the start to the end. I'm so scared! So, Jay, what are your initial thoughts on Annabelle Creations?
I thought it was slightly better than the first one, but that's not saying a whole lot. I thought it was mostly pretty dull, and all the scare moments were incredibly predictable.
I think I liked the first one more.
Really?
But although I don't remember it at all.
Well, that's not a good sign of quality.
No, but I was reminded of it because the ending of this has a callback to the first Annabelle movie, and so I was like, oh, yeah. And then people had the doll in an apartment. Was Naomi Watts in it?
No, that was Shut In. That was a completely different movie. No one was in the first movie, kind of like how no one's in this movie. Well, no, that's not true. Miranda Otto from The Lord of the Rings is in this, and what an easy paycheck for her. She gets to spend the whole movie in bed.
They told her she was making the new rebooted female Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, okay.
She thought that would be great inspiration for little girls all over the world. We finally have a female Phantom of the Opera.
And then she signed on and she said, oh, it's an Annabelle prequel. I'll be in bed.
How about my character's crippled?
But the scene doesn't take place. I'll be in bed. If you want me in your movie, bring the camera into the bedroom. I don't even want to show my fucking face.
That was actually her house.
Oh, okay.
She lives on a dilapidated, dusty farmhouse.
That looks like the setting for a horror movie?
Yeah.
That's a very wonderful coincidence.
It worked out really well for everyone.
Yeah.
But let's delve into the backstory and the circumstances surrounding this wonderful new Annabelle sequel prequel.
So you mean we're going to get into the stuff that's more interesting than the actual movie?
Yes. We're going to talk about the actual movie and kind of get into why it's dull and terrible. But let's talk about director David F. Sandberg. Jay, you have a little history with him.
Wait, what? What the hell?
Oh yeah, well David F. Sandberg also directed Lights Out, which we did not do on Half in the Bag. I didn't see it till much later. And someone on Twitter a while back had asked me, hey, what do you think of Lights Out? You didn't talk about it on Half in the Bag. And before I even responded to that, someone else said, yeah, I was curious what you thought. I was hoping you would do it on Half in the Bag. And I think I was in line at like the grocery store or something, because that's the only time I ever check my Twitter is when I'm bored. And so I was just like, I thought it was boring as fuck because there's too much backstory to the monster, which makes it not scary. And then the second person that had asked me about it said, well, that's too bad. Well, at least I know you saw my movie. And that's when I realized I was talking to the director of Lights Out.
Wait, what? What the hell?
I did not apologize profusely, though, because I still thought it was a boring movie.
Yeah, you don't like or dislike him personally. You don't know him, obviously.
No, that's the thing. Is like I looked into him afterwards because I was like, who is this guy? And I found his YouTube page, and he's just some guy that's been making these like short little horror vignettes with his girlfriend or his wife in their apartment. Just sort of random ideas, and that's how Lights Out eventually got made. It was just this short thing.
Yeah, and I guess that got the attention of someone in Hollywood, and they said, you're a little 2-minute short where someone shuts a light off and there's a spooky silhouette is great. Why don't you direct a feature film?
Expand that 2-minute idea into a 90-minute feature film.
Yes.
And that's the problem with his short, is that like, oh, this is a spooky little scenario. Because we don't understand what's happening, and that's what made it creepy. And then you expand it to a feature, and you find out the backstory of what that spooky silhouette is, and you're just like, oh, it's a little girl with a skin condition? That's not scary.
Lights Out, Don't Breathe, and Hush. All blend into the same movie for me, but I think I remember Lights Out it's basically the gremlin from Gremlins 2 who has electricity powers, right? Is that essentially the plot?
No.
Wasn't it a lady was given electroshock therapy on her brain, like a radical treatment, and it turned her into an electricity ghost? I swear the fuck.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't remember that.
Something happened at the end where it wasn't a demon.
No, it was a little girl with a skin condition, and now she's like a spooky ghost.
But I think they gave her shock therapy. That was a weird experimental shock therapy. Remember they had that reel, like whoever the protagonist was in that movie put like a film reel on, and then it's like, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I'm crazy, and I'm going to explain the plot to you. I'm trying this crazy new electric shock therapy to cure this girl from her skin condition because she couldn't go outside. And sunlight would like kill her.
Right.
So he tried this crazy electric shock therapy thing, and then that made her crazy and die, and then she turned into electricity ghost. I could be misremembering the plot, but my point is that it was not supernatural, but it was more of a scientific evil plot. If I'm correct.
Well, and it has a good hook, if nothing else. Like, that trailer was scarier than the movie. The shutting the light out, silhouette in the door when the light goes out. Like, that's a creepy image.
What was the movie where the mother and the daughter, this may be the same movie, where the mother is pretending to be like a spiritualist or a psychic, and the daughter
That's the Ouija, Origin of Evil movie.
Okay. They're all the same. Everything is set in 1950, and there's always a little
Lights
girl.
Lights Out wasn't.
Sure it was.
Well, the backstory maybe was. Not the 50s, but it was set in the past.
60s, 50s and 60s. Everything's set in the past and is a prequel now, and there's a house, an old Victorian mansion that has dust everywhere, and a lady in a 1950s dress and a little girl. Okay, so David F. Sandberg directed that film. And we did not review it, and I don't remember like being too passionate or dispassionate about it. I remember thinking,
it was well made. I got no problems with his visuals or anything. It was just I didn't care about the story, which is the problem with Annabelle as well.
Yes. But then let's move on to phase 2 of our prequel pre-discussion.
Okay.
If I said that right. We're going to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score on this film, and let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes just a little bit.
Yes, Rotten Tomatoes, there's a war on Rotten Tomatoes by the studios going on right now. They're convinced that Rotten Tomatoes is why all their movies are flopping, and it has nothing to do with their movies being terrible. Rotten Tomatoes, I'm sure, doesn't help, but we noticed a weird thing with this Annabelle. What's the name of this movie? Annabelle Creation?
Annabelle Creation.
There's a weird thing where for about 2 weeks before the movie came out, it sat at 100%. There was like, how many, like maybe 16 reviews, and they were all positive, and it sat at 100%. And that was the only reviews. And then it was like a second embargo lifted, and immediately that started to drop. Yeah. But for 2 straight weeks, Bam, 100%. Annabelle creation, 100%. And so we don't have any definitive answers on this, but we were wondering why there would be an embargo on some reviews and not others.
Yeah, if it's a studio tactic, which
Yes.
is a clever tactic. So find 16, 15 reviewers who have reviewed a similar film very positively in the past. Invite them to a special screening, give them some cake, some punch, maybe a free Annabelle doll. Say, here's a free Annabelle doll and a swag bag filled with Warner Brothers merchandise. And then, shake their hand at the end of the screening and go, you thought it was great, right, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so at this address with 2 children who attend this public school and walk home by themselves at 3 p.m. You like the film, right? And then it comes out 2 weeks ahead of time. It sits at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And goes, oh, I heard. It's like pre-word of mouth. It's
Yes.
and that may or may not be what happened. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that's a clever tactic because either that, if your movie's crappy, or you don't pre-screen for critics.
Well, and even the idea of it not being pre-screened for critics has a stigma about it too. People
Yes.
hear that and they say, I guess maybe not like the average person, but people that are into movies hear that and they say, oh, that means it's probably bad.
Yes. So you screen the movie ahead of time, but really I haven't seen too many movies that were screened for select critics and then allowed their reviews to be posted.
Yeah. Well, the embargo lifted, I think, just a day or two before the movie came out, which is kind of what they do for movies when
Right.
they don't want advanced reviews,
Yeah.
when they think the movie's going to get shit reviews. So this is a weird and unique and unprecedented situation where there's just these handful of reviews for several weeks before the movie comes out that just so happen to all be positive.
Right.
It's weird and it's suspect and we don't have any answers. It's just something that we noticed. And if anybody knows anything about this, and if there's any sort of studio-related shenanigans behind it, I would be very curious to know.
Yeah. And then this movie still has like the red tomato. It's not certified fresh, but it's red,
Yeah.
and it's like 68%, which in school is a D plus. So it's not
that's-
getting terrible reviews.
No, well, that's the other thing to point out with Rotten Tomatoes is that a lot of people don't seem to understand it. It's not like, oh, it's a tomato, that means it's good. Like, it's not that simplistic. It's just sort of an average. So, especially with this Annabelle creation review, a lot of those, and I tried to avoid reviews before we talk about the movies, but a lot of them could just be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Which is not the most glowing review, but it's a tomato.
It technically falls on the tomato side, and that's probably going to be our review. I was bored. I found many problems. I mainly the lack of story. But if I were to say positives, I'd say some creepy visuals here and there. Like well shot, well lit. Blah blah blah.
It looks
blah.
like a spooky horror movie.
And then because I had a couple positive things, and so really, yeah, it's not the most accurate tool. I mean, maybe if you're down at like 6%, like the Emoji Movie, it's safe. It's safe to lean in the this movie's probably shit
Right.
Category. But when you're in the middle, you never know. Yeah. I've seen movies that were in the middle range that I really loved, and some I really hated. So it's hard to say. And it's starting to. The studios are fighting back, apparently, where it seems like they're trying to manipulate the system to try and make it work in their favor.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I mean, it would suck if, you worked really hard on this movie and it comes out and 5 days before it screens, it has this splat green tomato at 10%, and then everybody sees that. And, at least give the movie a chance and let negative word of mouth work, but I don't know. Well, so David F. Sandberg got to make Lights Out by making a short YouTube video, roughly 2 minutes.
Someone saw it, just 2 minutes long. Someone saw it and said, hey, let's expand that and do a feature.
And that's interesting because David F. Sandberg is the face of a new contest.
Hi, I'm David F. Sandberg, director of Annabelle Creation, and I have some really exciting news.
My Annabelle Creation. And I came across this and I was like, oh, what's this? My Annabelle Creation. And it's make a 2-minute short horror film in the universe of the Conjuring universe.
Well, now I want you to create your own short horror film inspired by James Wan's The Conjuring universe for a chance to win a trip to Los Angeles where you'll get to meet with New Line Cinema and me.
That's the prize, to meet with them.
Well, that sounds like a great opportunity. You know, you make this short film, and then look what happened to David F. Sandberg. You know, he made his little 2-minute YouTube short. It got expanded into a feature.
Exactly.
That sounds very beneficial to the filmmaker.
Yeah, and so I looked at this and I said, hey, this looks like fun. Maybe we'll make a short film. Well, we have an Annabelle doll somehow.
I think someone sent that to us when The Conjuring came out.
Yeah. Oh, Miss Me has the Conjuring tag on it. So in theaters July 19th. So we have an Annabelle doll, and I thought, hey, maybe we can make a funny, wacky short and submit it for fun. And then I said, wait a minute. I'm going to be a smart guy, and I'm going to read the contract.
So go check out the official rules and submit your short at this website.
What happened when you read the contract, Mike?
Well, apparently nobody else read the contract but me.
Oh.
Maybe not even David F. Sandberg, because he might be ashamed of himself for promoting this.
I have some really exciting news.
So I have the contract here, and this is the part that interested me.
Okay.
Each entrant, and an entrant is the person that enters the contest, agrees that in addition to the license granted above, sponsor, which is Warner Brothers, or any of the sponsor's parents, affiliates, or subsidiaries, may, upon written notice to the entrant at any time within approximately 3 months of the verification of the winner in this contest, so they mean if you win the contest, they have 3 months to kind of make a decision about this thing.
Sure.
Acquire from entrant an exclusive and irrevocable option to purchase all right, title, and interest in and to his or her entrant content in exchange for $50 US, provided that A, the option will remain exercisable for a period of not fewer than 3 years. During the option period, sponsor will have the right to develop derivative works or otherwise explore possible exploitation of the rights that would be granted to it pursuant to the option.
So we're going to take your idea, we own it, and we don't have to give you anything in addition to that. This isn't like, we'll have you make the feature film.
They're
or anything
basically
like
saying
that.
they have 3 years to do whatever they want,
With your idea.
as long as they give you $50.
Wow, $50.
In the event that sponsor executes its option, the sole and exclusive consideration provided to entrant in exchange for the purchase of all rights in his or her entrant content will be an additional $50 US. We're at $100 now, Jay.
Oh my God, that's big money for a big studio stealing your idea.
They're not stealing anybody's idea, Jay. Don't slander.
They're buying the idea for $50, $100 possibly.
No, 50 is for the option, which
Oh, okay.
means they hold it for 3 years and they have the option to do something.
And
with
you
it.
can't do anything with that idea during those 3 years. Yeah.
And then in those 3 years, if they decide to make it into a feature film, you'll be compensated with another $50.
Whoa.
You get your facts right, mister. For the purpose of clarity, and without limiting the foregoing, entrant understands that should sponsor take and execute the option described here, sponsor will own all rights in the entrant's video and may adapt it into a feature film without any obligation to further compensate entrant.
This sounds like a great contest and very beneficial to the people entering it.
Oh, you mean the other way around?
Oh.
For a chance to win a trip to Los Angeles where you'll get to meet with New Line Cinema and me.
If neither Mr. Sandberg nor a sponsor-selected executive from New Line Cinema is available to participate in the meeting on the sponsor-appointed date, the portion of the prize will not be awarded and no substitute or replacement will be provided. And lastly, it says, nothing in these official rules or any option agreement executed by the parties will obligate sponsor to exercise or exploit any of the rights granted to it. Meaning, like, if they decide they don't like your idea, they're not legally bound to do something with it. It sounds like you make a 2-minute long horror movie idea.
A la David Sandberg with Lights Out.
Yes, you submit it to us. If you win this contest, your prizes will fly out to LA and you can meet with the director and or, if the director's not available, somebody at Warner Brothers, doesn't even say who, it just says an executive, It could be some intern.
It'll be the guy that gets you coffee.
Yeah, and it just says you'll meet with them. Yeah. Meaning, hey, we really loved your short. You're really good at making them movies. Okay, get back on your plane. And then they can take your idea and turn it into a movie without compensating you more than $50. Stay classy, Warner Brothers. Well, Jay, I think we talked a lot about more interesting things surrounding this movie.
Rotten Tomatoes conspiracies, bogus contest conspiracies.
You
big studios fucking people over.
And you and David Sandberg, your personal relationship, which goes back ways.
We're like this now because we had an awkward encounter on Twitter once.
The film opens with Annabelle being made by a kindly old man who sounds like Liam Neeson.
Janice, I told you not to use that room.
That was Anthony LaPaglia. I don't think I've seen him in a movie in like 20 years. I don't know where he's been.
He brought all the stars out for this hit film. He's building the Annabelle doll in a barn, and then he custom makes toys in his little small town. And then he has a little daughter. And you're like, okay, daughter's gonna die.
Daughter's gonna die. It did happen way more abruptly and almost comically than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Because we see them, they're at home, and then they go to church, and then they're leaving church, and then their car breaks down on the side of the road. And there doesn't feel like there's any sort of buildup. We're just sort of seeing these things happen. And then, like, one of the lug nuts from the car falls into the road. For no discernible reason, the daughter runs to grab it. I don't know why she would care. And then a car just smacks into her, cut. Annabelle creation. And it's just so, like, abrupt and awkward. It was very weird.
It's contrary to most ghost stories. I was really expecting, because the film opens with Annabelle, she's playing a little game with her dad, like, come find me. She leaves him a little note under the door.
Yeah.
Which is a reference to the real life Annabelle doll. I think
Oh, really?
wrote notes and left them places. The real life Annabelle doll has a cameo at the end of this, which it's just like a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
And I think the worst thing it did was it made a knocking sound and it moved around in an apartment. But yeah, I think that's a reference to that. But then you have the dad and the daughter kind of like goofing around in the living room, and the mom comes in and she's like, don't be goofing around. And then there's a little thing where she goes, I'm just kidding, let's all have fun. And from the moment the mother walked in, I thought, oh, the mom's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
She's
gonna have a special bond with the dad, and they both kind of have issues with the mom.
Right, like The Ring. Isn't that what happened? The mom throws the girl down the well?
Something like that, I think, yeah.
Because she goes crazy, and she kills the girl in the well. And so I thought it was gonna be something like that, where it has more of a emotional, spiritual thing, where the girl, that would kind of leave her spirit stay behind, some sort of tragedy, but then she just gets hit by a car. You gotta like the daughter first.
Yes, or like any of these people. I guess you're supposed to like the parents because they get along with the daughter. I mean, they're going for something there, but that's it for the rest of the movie. We don't really care about anybody. Then we get a busload of girls, this is like, 12 years later or something. And now their house is like a boarding house, I guess, or like an orphanage.
They're taking in orphans.
Yeah, so this busload of orphans show up. We don't get to know any of them except for the two main girls, which have like a sisterly bond. They're not literally sisters, but one has like a gimp leg. And those two actresses are really good. I thought they were both pretty solid. One of them was from Ouija, Origin of Evil, which, just like this movie, it's a prequel to a shitty movie. So they were fine, I guess. We don't really get to know much about them, but they get to the house and then spooky things happen for 90 minutes.
Yeah, there's the only plot element, the only reveal is kind of like when the nun goes into Miranda Otto's bedroom and she's got her Phantom of the Opera mask on.
Yes.
And she says, what's up with the doll, bitch? And she's like, well, here's some exposition.
We prayed to see our beloved girl again. The contact started small, but then it wanted permission to move into a doll so that it could be with us forever.
But the thing is, it's not really even a reveal, because what she reveals is the doll is possessed by a spooky demon, which we already know.
Well, okay.
I guess it's supposed to be, oh, it's not Annabelle,
Yes.
but we know that.
Yeah, well, we know that because she's doing evil things.
Right.
There's a reason for the little girl to be evil. Yeah, so there's multiple things happening of a spooky nature. You got the doll, which visually looks spooky. Then we see the ghost of Annabelle, which is not really Annabelle. It's a demon. So the parents felt so grief-stricken by the death of their daughter that they prayed to Jeebus, can we have our daughter back? And then when that didn't work, they switched to the black arts. And they prayed to the devil or any power that in the universe that could possibly bring their daughter back.
We didn't see that montage of them praying to all sorts of other gods and other monsters and demons. It's just, we'll skip all that. Just go right to
like in Hindu robes. And then so the doll is never really possessed. It doesn't really need to be in the movie.
That was my problem with the first Annabelle, and that's my problem with this one, is if you're going to make a spooky doll movie, make a spooky doll movie. The doll is incidental. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. This is a demon movie, just like the Conjuring movies, just like the Insidious movies. There's a doll there, but it's not like the doll is the only conduit, like that's the only way the demon can do anything.
Right.
Because we see like there's a scarecrow, and the scarecrow starts to move at one point, and then we just see the demon at certain points. The demon just does things.
Demon can do whatever it wants.
It can do it. There's no rules, which I know my complaint about Lights Out is that they explain too much backstory, but this one, there's no backstory and there's no rules, and that's a problem too.
Yeah.
When you're making a feature film where you have to know what to be scared of.
Yes. I am a big proponent of rules in your horror films.
I think it completely depends on the movie, but this is such a like traditionally structured, like spooky studio released horror film.
Right.
Like you got to give us something to grasp onto.
Yeah, I mean, there's the part where the dad is holding up a crucifix at the demon, and the demon starts like breaking his fingers to get his hands off the crucifix.
Yeah.
And then the demon at the end is like shattering the house, of course, and it's like, what are its powers?
But
what are its
then-
limitations? We don't know.
Right, because he has a crucifix, he has a religious symbol, and the demon's just like, whatever, breaks his fingers. But then at the end, they throw the demon into a closet that has Bible pages on the door, and can't get out of that, I guess. So why not? Why one and not the other? Rules. You can't just have spooky things happen that make no sense.
Well, that's the thing with the director is his thing is I'm setting up this spooky visual.
Yeah.
This thing's gonna, and it's all very predictable. Or it's like, okay, now things can happen. Like I was like going, okay, I was like, now.
Yeah.
Or when I'm watching the movie, the girl closes the closet door, the doll's in the door, or behind the door. She walks away. There's lots of negative space on this side of the frame. I'm like, and door opens, and a lot of that stuff. I mean, some things were unpredictable, but a lot of things were just bang, right, loud noise.
Well, the things that were unpredictable because they didn't really make any sense.
Yes.
They set up, there's two situations that were set up in the movie where I was like, ooh, this could pay off in a cool way. One is the girl with the gimpy leg. She's like, oh, why is my bedroom upstairs? How am I going to get upstairs? And then they establish that there's a, whatever that is, like a mechanized chair.
Mrs. Deagle chair.
The Mrs. Deagle chair. That's the official name for it. And so it's like, ooh, you could do some spooky stuff with that, where she's going up at night and then it gets stuck or something, and then she sees the demon coming towards her.
They kind of did something.
They kind of did it, but then nothing happens. Like, oh, she's going up the stairs and there's the demon at the top of the stairs. Oh, the demon's gone.
Yeah,
and then she sits there for a minute, and then the demon just pulls her out of the chair, and that's the end of that scene.
So, yeah.
There wasn't like anything clever about it or scary, because it was just sort of like, oh, he just pulled her out of the chair. Okay.
Yeah, even something much more basic where she's sitting in the chair or she's going downstairs in the chair, and then it just stops, and then it starts slowly going back up. And there's a demon at the top of the stairs going, "I'm gonna get you," and she's just slowly going up, clicking the button. I can't shut it off. I can't shut it off. And then she's almost to the demon, and it's like, ah, and then someone flips the lights on, and everything's okay.
Right.
This is like where you're out.
Just a basic build-up and release.
Yeah, you have no control, and there's lots of build-ups and releases in this movie, and lots of like, ooh, and go away, but. It's the rules. It's the rules and the logic. The Annabelle doll has very little to do in the film. There's a demon running around, and it's the kind of thing where the demon is there in the beginning, but decides to not do anything super, super crazy until the end for no reason.
Yeah, that's all these movies. They all kind of
say-
do that. And obviously you do that because you have to have things happen at the end of your movie. Yeah. So they have the crazy build-up, but usually it's motivated by something. And then at a certain point, the demon will just possess the main girl because it has that power too, I guess.
Well, she does say, I'll swallow your soul at some point. But how about this? It's cliched and terrible, but the demon needs to eat 5 souls, and when it does, it has enough strength to open a rift to hell. Something.
Sure.
Some sort of little thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or we find out the nun has a secret bad backstory.
I was waiting for that.
Something
They
like
established
yeah.
there's a photo of her with like some other nuns early on, and then he's like, "Who's that?" And it's the nun from The Conjuring 2. So, and I thought maybe that was going to tie in, but it doesn't. It's just a reference to The Conjuring 2 because I think they're making a nun movie now too.
The demon goes, "Nun," I forget her name. "Nun, I know your dark secret."
Yeah.
And disappears. And then it's like, what's going on with the nun? It felt like a Disney horror movie.
Yeah, there was some blood. I mean, there's some slit throats, and yeah, there's a character that's ripped in half. Well, you don't see her ripped in half, but you see the aftermath of it. But yeah, it all felt just everything about it felt very like safe and predictable as far as the scares go.
I kept thinking, like, while watching this, The Shining kept popping in my head. I don't know why.
Because that's a really great horror movie, maybe?
Well, yeah, but something with, like, I don't know, the dad walking around being creepy. And I'm like, can you imagine, like, a horror filmmaker from, like, the 70s or the 80s, like, watching this and going, this is what's horror now? It felt like a G-rated film.
Yeah.
It felt like Little Orphan Annie, like with a couple of like blood drips on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm like, when is this Annabelle doll gonna start offing these orphans?
Well, that's the thing too, is I knew that wasn't going to happen because they're all little. I mean, technically, yes, they kill a little girl at the beginning of the movie, but that's sort of the setup for it. But I never thought any of these little girls were in any real danger.
Well, they introduced the older ones.
I was waiting for them to get killed. Like, the only reason they're in here is to get killed, right?
Right, exactly. And then they're being mean to the one girl. Go play hide and seek, and let's talk about boys and giggle. And so, like, okay, they're...
The dialogue that was clearly written by a 40-year-old man screenwriter, yeah.
None of it felt like little girl speak. But,
Yeah.
so I'm like, and they even have that elongated sequence where the one girl's in the barn, and the scarecrow man is being possessed by a demon, and she's trying to fix the light bulbs, and like, this girl's gonna get killed, and then she
just gets spooked.
It almost felt like a reshoot. She's cornered, and she prays like, "Oh, Lord Jeebus, help me," and then her friend just comes out of nowhere and goes, "Come on," and then I'm like, "Where did her friend come? What?" And then it ends.
Yeah,
I bet you that girl got her head ripped off, and then the studio goes, "Ooh, yeah."
So, Mike, would you recommend Annabelle? What's it called? Annabelle Creation.
Fuck's sake, Jay.
It leaves my brain before it even enters it.
No, I would not. This movie was boring. It needed more music and needed to be cut faster. It was an hour and 49 minutes. It clearly could have been
49, really?
Yeah, it could have been 90. It could have been 80.
But the longer you drag something out, that automatically creates tension. Just having something be silent and someone walk around, instant tension.
It's creaky floorboards, this little sounds going on in the background, like that, makes it scary. But I can't imagine watching this film with a theater filled with like antsy teenagers on their cell phones because they would be bored. Annabelle.
I would not. I might have been a little more lenient on this movie if it came out in like October, and you're just looking for a spooky movie in the theater to see around Halloween. But why is this movie coming out in August? Maybe they're concerned because like the It movie comes out in September, and then the new Saw movie comes out in October, and the Saw movies are always super huge around Halloween, or they were, the older ones. So maybe there's like, this is the only slot they had before it got into Halloween season, but no.
They wanted to get it out before North Korea nukes us. It's really important that everybody see Annabelle Creation.
What if this was the last movie you saw before you died? How depressing of a thought is that? I think statistically it's possible, right?
Sure.
This is probably the last movie that somebody will see before they die.
Yeah. That is the worst thing you've ever said, Jay. So tweet at us or comment below if you know someone who died and this was the last movie they saw.
And be sure to smash that like button.
And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, like our Facebook page, and follow our Instagram.
And be sure to check out our merch store for all Red Letter Media products.
And we're offering a special this week only where you can get a t-shirt made with a picture of your friend who's just died. So you can remember them and the last movie that they saw before they died.